Guys, welcome to Ron FFB. I am Ron. We are doing a mock draft. This is a underserved part of the fantasy industry. It's a 10-team mock draft, so you guys might be in your home league and you got, a 10-team league. Totally respectable, totally understand it. We're going to hop into this mock draft and I am drafting from the 4th spot and my pick is almost here. I'm going to switch over now to the mock. Boom. All right, guys. So, it's a pretty standard league. Let's look at the settings. One QB, two RB, two wide receiver, tight end, and two flex. And it is PPR, so full PPR. There's going to be a preference to wide receivers, I'd imagine. We already see two running backs, so before my pick, which means there's some value, right? So CeeDee Lamb falls to me. That's a smash pick. We see Christian McCaffrey, Bijan Robinson, followed by Tyreek, and then I go with CeeDee Lamb at the 4th spot. I just think CeeDee Lamb is probably one of the better full point PPR picks in fantasy. I mean, if not the best. I think Tyreek Hill does bring a lot more touchdown equity, perhaps. So in like a half point PPR league, I'd probably rank Tyreek above CD. But for the most part, you can't go wrong, man. CeeDee Lamb is going to be a part of one of the better offenses, and they do not have a run game. So CeeDee Lamb, I think, is a consensus or consensus wide receiver one for most people. Interestingly, we do see Justin Jefferson, but it is an auto pick, followed by Amon-Ra St. Brown, then Brees Hall. Um, the Jamar Chase owner is dancing at the moment when Jamar Chase says follow him. Let's see who ends up taking him. He showed up to practice today, so I was a little bit worried about that myself. I drafted Jamar Chase in my high stakes home league. High stakes, fucking $100. Not really high stakes. In my home league, I drafted Chase, and till like 2 a.m., I was scouring the internet for news reports about whether Jamar Chase would report. And it's just been, hearsay. So we see Jamar Chase go at the 1-8, followed by Garrett Wilson, Jahmyr Gibbs to close out the first round. The Gibbs owner then swings back around and takes Travis Etienne at the 2-1, followed by Puka Nacua. So Garrett Wilson, Puka Nacua is a solid start. I think both guys meet the thresholds in the metrics for a potential 20 point per game average wide receiver. Shout out to Ron Stewart. He made a video pretty recently about which player is the most likely to be a 20 point per game, like wide receiver one type player. And he kind of breaks it down into a couple metrics in which both of those guys fulfill them. It is not my pick again. We see Kyron Williams, Jonathan Taylor, Marvin Harris go off the board. That leaves me kind of in a peculiar spot where it kind of pigeonholes me into taking a running back because I don't really like these wide receivers too much. So I am going to go with Devon Achane. I know it's kind of crazy going Achane over Barkley. I just think in a full point PPR, I think Achane's going to really make his hay receiving the ball. I think Mostert's going to, take the first, second down work. I think Achane's going to, be mostly like a gadget receiving type back. I think he profiles perfectly also to be like a RB1 finish type player. I don't know if Barkley has that in his potential outcomes, to be honest. Like there's too much talent on the Eagles for Barkley to become the RB1 in my opinion. He's going to get so he's not going to be the by far clear number one option when they get down in the red zone. It's going to be like AJ Brown, then Barkley, then Smith, or then Smith, then Barkley, right? Like it's not going to always be like, all right, it's time to give it to Barkley every time. And then you also have the tush push if they continue to use it. So Barkley's kind of one of those guys where I think he's going to be super effective and a great running back between the 20s. But once they get into the red zone, I do think it's essentially like roll a dice, and that's who's going to end up getting the touchdown. And yeah, maybe you can poke some holes into the Achane thesis as well. Like, maybe he's not also the first option. Maybe he's the third option. So I'm willing to be proven wrong on that one, or to be. So it's my pick again now in the third round. We see Olave, Nico Collins, Derrick Henry. And it is a full point PPR league, so I do want to lean toward wide receiver. Because I have Achane, I won't take Waddle here, but typically I would. I'm going to go ahead and take Devontae Adams. Just if Adams falls to you into the third, mid third round almost in a PPR league, I just think He's not only going to be productive for the Raiders, I do think there's a mid-season trade in his future where I can imagine him getting sent to another team where maybe he's on a contending team, maybe a better quarterback, better situation. I can imagine Devontae Adams having like a really good second half of the season, kind of the twilight of his career, kind of like a nice proper send off. As Devontae Adams then kind of transitions into retirement roles, right? Which is like possession receiver, third down guy. Yeah, after my pick, we see Josh Jacobs go off the board. This is a solid start. Justin Jefferson, Marvin Harrison, Josh Jacobs. Maybe the ideal type of start that you want in a PPR league. Maybe you want to go wide receiver, running back, depending on who falls to you. So, like, I think, yeah, maybe this dude doesn't like Achan, so that's why he went with Harrison instead. Like, I'm not the biggest fan of Harrison, to be honest. He's somebody that I'd probably want to stay away from. So in a 10-team league, keep in mind there's going to be some stacked teams, right? It's going to look real nice all across the board, and quarterbacks are going to get pushed down, right? Because potentially you can start 4 wide receivers, and it kind of feels nice, right? Having a 10-team league kind of feels pretty nice because last night I was doing my 12 team league, only 14 rounds, and you really feel like names fly off the board, dude, and you feel like you hit that running back dead zone. You feel like all the QBs get swooped up so fast. Like one little QB run, if you're on the wrong end of a QB run or an RB run or a wide receiver run, you're sitting there holding the bag, and it just doesn't feel right. While in a 10-team league, it's like, oh damn, QB run. Looks like I still get to get fucking Rashad White in the 4th round, right? So I don't know, but it just feels nice. So let's talk about some of these other picks. We see Cooper Kupp, Mike Evans, 2 riskier picks, just both older guys, but both very good and could continue to produce. I'm going to take a gander at the quarterbacks that are still available. Patrick Mahomes is still on the board. I haven't done a draft where I've taken Mahomes. I'm going to test that out. I'm going to go ahead and take Patrick Mahomes and see if Mark Andrews can fall back to me, or Dalton Kincaid, or Trey McBride. If any of these 3 tight ends, I probably take them. Typically, I would usually just keep carouseling between wide receiver and running back in most leagues. But I want to see what my team ends up looking like if I really fill it out. A nice balanced team with, a good contending top quarterback, a good contending top tight end, nice players spread across my roster. I want to see how it looks. It's just not how I usually draft. I'll usually punt QB, punt tight end as long as I can, as long as the board allows it. So there's a couple different strategies, right? Like you can also go with the hero RB, which is where you get one running back and then you fill with wide receivers, quarterback, tight ends, and then you don't get another RB till like the 7th, 8th round, something like that. Damn, all the tight ends are about to get swooped. All right, so Trey McBride does fall to me. Although Kamara is still on the board, and so is Kenneth Walker. I'm going to pivot off of my original intended plan, and I'm going to take... No, I'm not going to actually do that. I'm going to go ahead and take Trey McBride. I just want to see how the team pans out. Let's see what it looks like. I think more often than not, I take Kamara or Kenneth Walker there at that spot. Just to solidify, to make sure I have like a good RB2 that doesn't end up burning a hole on my roster. So the dude right after me goes with Kamara. I think this is also a very strong team. This is a very strong team. Team 3. We have Tyreek Hill, Saquon Barkley, Derrick Henry, DJ Moore, and DK Metcalf in the 5th round. That is value town. If I were to have followed my typical strategy of punting QB and tight end, I'll tell you who I would have picked here. So I probably would have taken DK Metcalf there, or Devontae Smith. I think both guys are really get me excited. And then in the 5th round, I'd probably swing back around and take either Kamara or Kenneth Walker, right? So that's what I would have had, just RBs and wide receivers all the way through. Malik Neighbors is a really good target. Like I would target Malik Neighbors 5th round and up in a 10-team league. Anytime in the 5th round, if you want to take Neighbors over DK, over Pittman, over Smith, I totally get it. Probably wouldn't take him over Smith, or DK personally, but I understand if you want the upside of like a young emerging talent. At the end of the day, an asset that nobody knows about could be either mispriced, overpriced, underpriced. It's kind of redundant to say mispriced and then over and under, but yeah, they can be mispriced, right? So, and it can work either in your favor or against your favor. So, um, who else goes off the board? We see Joe Mixon, Diggs, Neighbors, Rashi Rice, and James Conner go off the board. Easy money. Thinks this league is easy money, but it is not easy money, my friend. Let's have a look at who's gonna fall to me. My pick is coming up. I do not have an RB2 yet. I do have a tight end, I have a QB, and I have two solid wide receivers that I'm very happy with. There are still a couple wide receivers that I would be happy with here at this spot, but I don't want to be left with no good running backs. I'm gonna go ahead and take. I'm not gonna take Zamir White because I have Devonta Adams. I'm gonna take Swift. I think he's a good PPR back. He's a good. I think he's going to get a lot of receptions, a lot of dump offs. He's going to be kind of like their big play type. Like let's get him into screens, manufactured touches around the line of scrimmage and stuff. I don't know if he's going to get too much like early down, like between the tackles type stuff. They'd probably be smart not to give him that kind of stuff. But obviously, you want your running backs to get as much volume as possible. Ramondre Stevenson is kind of the antithesis to DeAndre Swift to me, and based on the format and the type of league you're in. So if you're in a full point PPR league and you already have like a stable RB1 that's going to get workhorse, role, I might lean Swift there. I might go with Swift because Swift's not going to be a workhorse, while Ramondre Stevenson is going to be kind of like a workhorse minus the third down and receiving work. At least that's my theory. It seems like the Patriots really like Antonio Gibson, and they might just end up letting Antonio Gibson, take that. I don't want to say James White role because it's a completely different offense and coaching staff and everything, but James White just comes to mind because it's the Patriots, right? Like he was really their third down like satellite back always in any type of negative game script or up tempo. George Pickens falls to me. That's a smash pick. I'm taking Pickens. Pickens has a tough strength of schedule. Keep in mind, guys. So he has the hardest strength of schedule, and their quarterback play seems to be pretty bad at the moment. Like it did not look good in the preseason. Both quarterbacks seem to struggle. However, I will say, if Russell Wilson is good at one thing, it's deep balls. Deep balls. He's just so good at deep balls, just the deepest balls, the droop on those balls. He's great at throwing deep, and George Pickens is a deep pass merchant, right? Or deep pass consumer, and Russ is the merchant. So that's like a match made in heaven, right? Like it all depends on whether the Arthur Smith offense allows that to manifest. So we'll see about that. Kyler Murray goes in the 7th round after Burrow, after Richardson, after Stroud. Absolutely insane. I probably should have waited. I could have had, as I mentioned, Devontae Smith instead of Mahomes. And then I could have still taken McBride and then taken Murray instead of Pickens. I'm basically replacing Pickens for Smith. That could be a wash, actually. I don't know. I'm not too sure. I mean, I like my team. Are there any more RBs that I would be more happy with taking here than I would other people later? I think I'm happy taking Warren later. I'm happy. I'm going to take Zamir White. I know I already have Devonta Adams, but as I mentioned, Devonta could get shipped off, and Zamir White could end up being a true 3-down back all season, regardless of what happens. So you don't typically want to double dip into offenses that you don't imagine being very great. But this is one of those situations where there's so much. I'm getting so much value. Zamir White in the 8th round, in my opinion. Like I've seen Zamir White go in the 6th round before Swift. I've seen him go like, wedged in between Mixon and Connor. Like Zamir White is really propelling up draft boards at the moment. So feel free to take him in the 6th round and up. After my Zamir White pick, we see Calvin Ridley, then Odunze. Solid pick. Upside pick. I would say like second half of the season, Odunze could be a pretty viable option. It was an auto pick, so of course, dude, Skynet is online. It is my pick again. I have to keep in mind that it is a full point PPR league, so I do not want to neglect wide receiver too hard. Chris Godwin is an auto smash. He's still on the board in the 9th round. That is absolutely insane. He should be a PPR machine. They say he's going to be fulfilling the Cooper Cup role. So Chris Godwin in the Cooper Cup role should be a fantastic option in any type of full point PPR format. That is a smash pick anytime after like the 8th round, in my opinion. Now I'm going to queue up Jackson Smith. I'm going to queue up Brian Thomas. Oh, what happened? No, who got queued there? Okay, he did get queued. I'm going to queue up Romeo Dubs. I just want to get a piece of that Packers offense, but I don't want to pay too much. That's why I won't take Christian Watson. I just think Christian Watson's not going to get enough volume to be a good PPR, a PPR value in my opinion. But Jordan Addison could be nice there too. Get a piece of that Vikings offense. Maybe I should keep an eye peeled for some of these valuable PPR backs like a Jalen Warren, who's criminally undervalued. A Jonathan Brooks for like a late season workhorse running back. I can just throw him on my IR if there is an IR. Tajay Spears is a solid like scat back. He's going to be the 1B with Pollard. Yeah, there's still some nice RB values. I mean, PPR leagues make RBs really deep. So almost as deep as Russ's balls. All right, who's falling to me in the 10th round? Chase Brown goes before Javonte Williams. Very interesting there. Is there a report I don't know about? Seems not. Brock Bowers is a solid pick, a very mercurial pick. I don't know what to think about Brock Bowers going into this season. If they use him like a wide receiver, I think Brock Bowers is going to be an absolute steal in fantasy. Seems they're tinkering with formations, moving him all over the formation. That's a good thing, but I've seen a lot of teams do that with running backs, and then they just resort or they return to the mean and they just continue using them poorly. So I go with Jackson Smith there over Brian Thomas. Brian Thomas to me is a half PPR guy. Jackson Smith is a PPR guy. So Brian Thomas is a little more touchdown upside, a little more touchdown equity, more of like a big play guy, while Jackson Smith should be more of a viable weekly option, weekly starter for you. You don't have to worry about any boom bust nature. I think Brian Thomas might have a little boom or bust to his profile. And if Jonathan Brooks goes off the board, I'll not be able to. If Tajay Spears falls to me, I think I have to take him the way running backs are now getting scooped up. I don't want to have only 3 running backs. Tajay Spears is the perfect PPR back to just put on your bench. In a pinch, you throw him in. How you doing? Brian Thomas goes, which means I will take Tajay Spears. Let's see. Hopefully Romeo Dubs falls to me in the next round as kind of like a dart throw, like upside type wide receiver. I think he could end the season with like 8 to 10 touchdowns. Not too many yards, but probably no reason to take a backup QB or backup tight end in a 10-team league. The waiver wire is going to be nice and active all season. I mean, Jaden Daniels undrafted, most likely. Insane in the membrane. Same thing with running backs. You don't have to go super deep into like the deep running back sleepers. You can just there's still a lot of wide receiver value that you can probably just take. Hawkins is actually a good pick because he's going to be on the pup. So you draft him, you throw him on your IR, then you pick somebody up, week 1 of waivers. It's a very solid thought process. I'll go ahead and take Romeo Dubs. Khalil Shakir will probably be the target, but maybe end it with an RB just so that I have 5. Probably makes the most sense. And it will be Rico Dowdle if he falls to me. If he does not fall to me, it will be JK. And yeah, I mean, I would have taken obviously Jerome Ford or Chuba, one of these like early season viable guys who are going to then lose their job most likely. I would have taken them if I would have taken Brooks. So that's where that would have taken place. I'm going to go with Rico Dowdle. I think he just ends up being the 1A in Dallas. That's the motherfucking draft, guys. I hope you like this. You guys love mocks. People are eating up mocks for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Here's the team that's CeeDee Lamb, it's Devon Achane, it's Devontae Adams, followed by Patrick Mahomes and Trey McBride. I essentially solidify the depth I solidify my team before I go for depth. That's the strategy that I took with this team. I then take dudes as they fall to me, take the value where they lie. Swift, not necessarily a value pick, taking it way above ADP for the most part. I think Swift is kind of moving down draft boards at the moment, but I'm still pretty big on him. I then get George Pickens, followed by Zamir White, then Chris Godwin, Jackson Smith, and Jigba. Tajay Spears, Romeo Doubs, and Rico Dowdle. I don't think I missed a single like hyped up sleeper pick, right? Like I got all the dudes who are getting hype. I got them. I just missed out on Jacoby Myers instead of Doubs. That would have made my entire team the Raiders. So hope you guys like the video. If you do, give me a like, give me a subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it, dude. I'm not selling you guys anything. I do have a free cheat sheet. If you want to grab my top 100 rankings, you can find it's going to be at the top of this video in the YouTube description. You can get my top 100 rankings. It includes dudes that I really like, dudes that I'm kind of scared of. They're color coded. I put some notes on why I like them, what's wrong with them, what's the upside, what's the downside. And I give you my rank against ADP so you can see where I differ, see if maybe you like my thought process. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye.